The report said the Treasury faced a £25 billion budget black hole in the near future as receipts from fuel duty dwindled. It added that the government should respond by introducing road pricing for electric vehicles, meaning their owners would pay per mile driven. Would you be prepared to do that? A pay-per-mile system, is that a better system? And do you own an electric vehicle? What has been your experiences in terms of cost? 0344 499 1000. Let's speak with Geoff Thompson, presenter at Geoff Buys Cars YouTube channel. How are you, Geoff?
Good afternoon. Good to see you again.
Nice to have you with us. I don't know how long we've been... I mean, the pay-per-mile thing, it kind of is on a bit of a merry-go-round, that one, isn't it? It comes around, we debate it, then it sort of goes away again, and then it returns. And this think tank are saying, actually, it should return. It's right that it returns, and it's right it's implemented, particularly for electric cars, because they cause more damage. Is that... Do you sense that as being a fair comment, or is that bunkum?
I think it's a fair comment. I think it was naive of people to think that they were going to be able to run their electric cars road tax free forever.
Yeah.
I think the last time you and I spoke, we were discussing the ULEZ, the low emission zone. And since then, I've realised that the expansion of the ULEZ really was a bit of a Trojan horse to bring in this road user charging. And I don't think it's good news.
So in terms of pay per mile, I mean, it's quite difficult, isn't it? Because road tax doesn't specifically go on roads, right? So you pay this enormous amount of money, which has gone up considerably over the last few years, and you think, well, I don't mind because it's going to fill that pothole at the end of the road. And you look down the end of your road 5 years later and the pothole's still there and loads of other stuff still isn't working. So it's always been a bit of a kind of curious way to work out how or why or where or who spends the money on our roads. But is pay per mile, in theory, a better way of doing things?
I'm not convinced. I mean, effectively, we already do pay per mile. We do have a pay per mile system, which is in place based on fuel revenue. So the more miles you drive, the more tax you pay because the more fuel you are putting in. This seems to me like another one of those dystopian control systems, because how are they going to put the pay per mile in? Well, they're going to use lots of cameras. So once again, it seems to be more about control and monitoring where you're going. I can't see that going down this route is a good thing for motorists. I think there's enough charges already on motorists with just generally the cost of running a car. We have fuel tax, we have road tax, both of which are pretty high rates relative to how many other countries do it. It seems to me like this is, more about control and monitoring than it is actually about revenue. On the point, Geoff, of electric cars themselves, different data seems to pop up. Some say the electric car sales world, the sale of electric cars, has kind of stabilised. What are you hearing on that front? Well, I'm still wearing my Save the Planet, Crush a Tesla T-shirt. But I do believe that the sales are flagging. I've done a couple of videos on this. It seems to me like early adopters of electric cars, people who jumped ship early on, thinking it was a great idea. They're perhaps finishing up their 3-year lease. And I think many people are not renewing. They're going back to petrol and diesel cars. I seem to be reading quite a few articles in pretty well-regarded publications where journalists are actually saying, I moved to an electric car for all the right reasons, and here's my article on why I'm now moving back to a diesel. So jury's out on that one. I don't think second-hand car dealers want to buy them at auction, which is impacting prices as well. Again, another thing I've done a video on. So we shall see. They're still selling, but how they perform in the second-hand market is really going to be key, because it will affect the residual values, and that'll have a knock-on effect with their new values as well. And of course there's the infrastructure issue of charging points and the like. I just have no confidence, Geoff, that, bearing in mind very few things seems to work in this country at the moment. A lot of stuff seems broken. It's like a big old train set that's been smashed up and we're waiting for it to all be rebuilt, and that includes the idea that suddenly in the sort of melee of the mess that we are in for lots of different reasons, that we're going to suddenly see millions of charging points pitch up. I can't see that happening, and of course that's key as well, isn't it, to the success of the electric vehicle market? Yeah, the infrastructure isn't there, and it doesn't seem to be being rolled out either. In fact, in many cases, the infrastructure seems to be getting worse. We're already seeing free charging points being removed. So people that presumed that they'd get this electric car that they would pay no road tax on, that they'd then be able to charge for free. The dream is ending. And more than one occasion now, I've had people contact me and said, look, I wanted to do this journey in my electric car. It was supposed to take 5 hours. It took 11. Or, a friend of mine recently, another YouTuber, tried to drive from London to Edinburgh in his electric car on one day to see if it was possible. Didn't make it. Had to get a hotel. These are not isolated incidents. People are realizing that, yes, the electric car works if you live in a city and if you don't cover any distance and if you can have a charging cable, but still for the vast majority of real human beings, they don't work.
There it is. Geoff, always great to get your take. We will speak again. Geoff Thompson. Do check out Geoff's YouTube channel. It's called Geoff Buys Cars. And the name is, the clue is in the name, of course, with all sorts of reviews and conversations about this and loads of other stuff about cars. Geoff Buys Cars on YouTube. Thank you to him.
Geoff Buys Cars. Still, YouTube's most boring car and conspiracy and conversation channel.